Hello. Man, I'm having all kinds of allergy issues today, so I'm sorry. Just go with me. Factories. Okay, so yesterday, in the previous video, I introduced a whole bunch of new inventions. Yeah. Now that we have all these new inventions, they're not going to be handmade. So they're going to be like spitting them out on what is it? In machines in factories. Okay, look at this picture here of England. Okay, this right here, all of this, those are all factories. Okay. What you're seeing is the smokestack where all the smoke is going out from the coal. That is like steam engine coal. Okay. That being said, working conditions in factories beyond disgusting. First of all, they were not clean. I mean, that's kind of obvious. Nobody cared about cleaning it because that costs money, right? On top of that, the light that I have in here right now, I mean, there's a huge giant window over there, and then there's one overhead light. I think it's really bright in here. This light is crazy compared to what they had in the factories. In the factories, they were really, really dark. You're using a lot of steam engines, and a lot of the factories were originally what are they called? Wood. And so as a result, the wood was like rotted, like slippery, and people had accidents all the time, and everything was like humid and just ugh, right? People were working like 14-hour days, 6 days a week. You didn't have a day off. Well, you have Sunday, but that's church day. You didn't have like rest time. You didn't have anything like that. You also had this situation, child labor, which was just terrible. Pay was so low in some of the best factories, the rich factories. They were paying people like 200. What? No, like $2 a day, not 200, $2 a day. All right. And those are the rich factories. Well, people needed their kids working in the factories with them. So the whole child labor thing starts. The good thing about a kid working from a business point of view, like if I'm the owner of the factory, the kid only got half of the pay. So I make more money, right? Plus, the kid was small. Because kids were small, and you'll see in a lot of these pictures that are coming up, kids could get into machines, kids could get under machines where adults couldn't. So, like if something gets stuck in the machine, the kid can get down in there and like pull it out and stuff. But think about child labor. 14 hours a day working. Um, is that good for a child? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, but I don't know, right? Um, it's kind of sad, and you're going to see a lot of pictures coming up, but I don't know. I just think it's way sad. So that being said, working conditions are just ugh. Okay, having children work is nothing new in any way, shape, or form. Um, Kids have been working on farms since the beginning of time. People have always had their kids working with them on the farm. But in a factory now, this is like a whole different ballgame. All right. That being said, you have another little picture. Look at this little boy. Guys, as we look at some of these pictures, I'm not very good with like determining how old kids are. I don't know. But I do know he's young. I want you to just look at these pictures and I want you to remember we're looking at photographs. These are not paintings. All right. These are real kids who are working in real factories. Okay. This is a textile factory right here. I know because you can see all the spools of thread. Yeah. Do you remember what textiles are? Can you see it? I don't know. Yes, material. You have two kids back here. You have a guy that he's not a child. He might be your age. I kind of think he might be a little bit younger, but again, I'm not good at that. And then you have this young man sweeping. By the way, do you see all this? Let me zoom in a little bit. Whoa, sorry. Do you see all of these like white things stuck on him? That's pieces of cotton. All right. So whenever you see all this white stuff that's stuck on people, like down here, and you're going to see it in a lot of the other pictures, that's cotton stuck on their clothes. Can I not go? I'm going to have to start over. Again, I don't know why when I zoom in, it won't let me continue. Okay. Here's the next picture. Here they are. Look at these little guys. This is also a textile industry right here. You have spools of thread. And I don't know what these guys are doing on this machine, but they're doing it on the very top and they're not tall enough. So they're actually having to stand on the machine itself because that's safe. And look right here. That's a spool. There's no yarn or thread on it, but that's a spool. Now, maybe this little boy knows it's there. Maybe he threw it down there. Like he's like, I got to deal with that later. And he threw it down there. Maybe he doesn't know. I don't know. But can you see if he steps down and if he doesn't know that that's there and he slides and he hits his head here and he's like all bleeding and stuff? There's accidents like crazy. In factories, there's nobody to help you if you have an accident. There's no workers' compensation. If you go to the doctor, you might lose your job. There's so many people that wanted these jobs that even though they're like low level and crappy jobs, people want the jobs because it's stable pay. If you're working on a farm, pay isn't stable. You might have a crop failure or a freeze or something. So people did want these jobs even though they're so crappy. But it's dangerous. They weren't taking care of their workers or children at all. Look at her. Sweet little girl. How old do you think she was? Little kids as young as like 3 or 4 could work in a factory. Um, Typically, they were called gophers, literally. Not because they were like the little animals, but because they would go for things. If I need you to take, I don't know, some spools of thread from my machine over there to her machine, I give my little daughter, that sweet little girl, those spools, and I say, go take that over there, baby. And she goes and takes it. Freya. Anyway, but she's very young. Kids could be gophers very young. Here's a group of boys, again, in a textile factory. I don't know what they're carrying, but here's a group of boys. Look at these girls and boys. Sorry, boys. Look at him. He just looks mad. Some of these girls look happy. Look how dirty they are. I just think that's so sad. Like they should be out in the front yard, like playing, not working in a dirty old factory. This makes me sad. Look at these young ladies. Be nice to the one in the middle. They also are from a textile mill. We know that because of all the like cotton that is stuck on them. Um, they're older. I don't know, junior high age, maybe. Maybe. One of the worst jobs for kids was being a coal miner. These are some coal miner boys, and I love their little faces. Um, he looks happy. Yeah, these guys, they look like your tough, like football pictures, boys. Yeah, look at this guy right here. He looks so mad. And isn't it strange, like that picture and this picture? The guy, like right in the center in the back, is like, I don't want to be here. I just think it's funny. Do you see how dirty they are, though? That's coal. I mean, it could be dirt, of course, but it's probably coal. And do you see here how a lot of the guys have like the bandanas? This guy's turtleneck would have gone up over his nose. The bandana would have been up over his nose. Most of these kids, I can almost guarantee you, probably did not live past the age of 30. They probably all died from something called black lung. Basically, whenever you're like in the coal mine and you're chipping away, like getting coal, you're breathing in all of those particles of rock and coal. And that's It's rock. And so you're breathing it in and it's filling up your lungs, and your lungs are just being filled up with rocks. And so basically you just suffocate slowly over time. So it's so sad. I'm 30 years old, y'all. Oh my goodness. Look at this little guy. Do you see what I see? Could he have been born without a finger? I guess that's two fingers. Yeah. Don't always jump to the conspiracy theory. Maybe he was born without that, but it looks pretty mangled to me. Probably he got his hand caught in a machine or under a machine or something. There were a ton of accidents with little kids. Look at this young man. He doesn't have a right arm. You're like, yes, he does. It's just behind his back. No, guys, his shirt is tucked into his overalls. Like his shirt sleeve is tucked into his overalls because he doesn't have an arm. Again, maybe he was born that way. Don't jump to the conspiracy theory, but more than likely, that's a case of accident in a factory. Sweet little boy. So sad. Look at him, the little papes, the little newsboys. Um, a lot of big cities during this time, especially like Chicago, New York, they would hire, like, they had deals with some of the orphanages, okay? And a lot of the orphanages would like provide the kids to sell the papers. So a lot of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time when you see these little boys and he looks so cute and sweet and stuff, right? But it's very possible that he was an orphan selling these. Okay, do I know that? But I just know a lot of the time, especially in the big cities, the newspapers had deals with the orphanages. And so the orphan boys are the ones who would sell the papers on the street corners. Look at this political cartoon. Remember political cartoons? They're not like funny, ha ha, but they're like, something needs to change type stuff. Whenever you see this big guy here, that's a symbol of big business. Okay, big business. And in this political cartoon, big business is swallowing two kids. There's a little boy already sliding down his tongue, and he's like, help me. And then there's this little girl who's about to follow. The idea is like, we are eating our children alive in America. We've got to do something. Well, something will start happening once unions come onto the forefront. The unions are these groups of workers that get together to try and push for change. They want workers' rights. They want more pay. They want less hours. They want kids to not be used in factories. They want lights in factories. I mean, electricity gets invented, and they're like, hello, can we have some light in here? Because we can't see when the sun goes down. So they want to start enacting some change. They're going to go about it in two main ways. What you see in this picture is actually not the most, I don't know, the best way to do it. What you see in this picture is a strike. A strike should only happen if the other thing doesn't work. The first thing that you should do, it's called collective bargaining. Basically, with collective bargaining, the union leaders get together with the owner of the business, or like the manager, the foreman, the manager, the factory manager. It's called a foreman. But anyway, the factory foreman. They get together with them and they sit down and they say, okay, our people make 50 cents a day. We just want to make $1 a day. Well, the manager says, sorry, we're a poor factory. We can't pay you that. How about 60 cents a day? The union says, no, not good enough. 80 cents a day. It's negotiations, bargaining. Eventually, they'll come to an agreement. If they come to an agreement, awesome, we're all good. If we don't come to an agreement, step 2, strikes. There's two different ways that you'll see strikes happen also. And this kind of strike is the kind of strike that you see most often, like that pops in your head, where people have signs and they're like picketing in the streets and they're like, we want lower pay, right? But that's not actually the best kind of strike. It makes look, I have a meeting. It makes people look all crazy. But more importantly than that, if you're striking in the street, you're not at your machine. If I'm not at my machine, I can be replaced. Do you see that? The factory owner can just go outside and hire somebody new if I'm not standing at my machine. So, actually, the kind of strikes that worked the best were actually called like sit ins, where people would just, at whatever particular time, they would just sit down at their machine and stop working. Sometimes they would all like clasp hands and hold hands and like, in solidarity so that you couldn't like pull them away from their machine. That kind of strike is actually going to work a lot better than going in the streets and picketing with a sign. All right. But I mean, it does work or people wouldn't do it. But we see this one right here with kids. Look at some of these. We want to go to school. Are some of y'all saying that? I don't know. Um, Look at this one. This one's so sad. More school, less hospital. Does that kid work in a hospital maybe? Or has that kid maybe seen a lot of kids who have had to go to a hospital because of injuries? Hmm. So, anyway, kids are starting to protest too. They're like, we want some rights. Eventually, the unions are going to be able to get some laws passed. The government does come in and they look at some of these factories and they're like, oh my gosh, the conditions that these people are working in, it's not acceptable. It's like on the level of slaves and slavery. Well, I was going to say it's gone. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. By the 1880s. Well, at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, it's not gone. By the end of the Industrial Revolution, yes, slavery is gone. But the point is, a lot of the government is looking at these and they're like, dude, slaves didn't even work in these kind of conditions. Like, this is not okay. So, laws will eventually start to get passed that are like the 10-hour act, where you're not working 14 hours a day. If you're a man, you're working 10 hours a day. If I remember right, I think women are working 6 hours a day and then children were working 4 hours a day, I believe. And then the other time was supposed to be for basic schooling. But you're getting all of these different laws that are coming through, where the government is saying, okay, we do need to do some regulation. We don't own these businesses, but we do need to regulate some to give these workers some rights. So good will absolutely come out of this union thing, but it is going to take some time. All right. Okay. Tomorrow gets complicated. So have your I don't know, your thinking cap on tomorrow because it gets complicated with the what are they called? The economic systems. Okay. All right, bye guys.